Hello YouTube, this is Trainboy90 Productions here. Welcome to another episode of Trainboy90's Custom Showcases. And on to today, we have a custom that I did sometime recently of when this video was recorded. Let's take a look at this very famous engine and see who he is. This famous engine is the City of Truro, right here. So, City of Truro was made from a Plarail 2018 Edward with some very heavy modifications. And as you may not know, I do have a stock model of Plarail 2018 Edward. Before I show you how I made City of Truro, let's take a look at the stock model I actually have. Let's take a look at his stock model. This right here was the model I used to make City of Truro, but this will be City of Truro before I made all the heavy modifications to his model. So further ado, we're going to take a look at this stock one right here. Of course he has a CGI face. Of course this is the same CGI face I have on my actual Edward that I use in my Tomas and Friends series, who will be showcased in a future episode. Here's a very close look at his face. He has the incorrect wheel configuration. I could technically probably do a redesign of... I could technically do a more accurate one, but I just choose to do a 2003 Edward with a CGI face inspired by someone. I forgot who, but very good inspiration. So, here's the underside of the normal Edward model. His tender does not have painted rear buffers nor the buffer beam, unfortunately. He has the normal, regular side rods. The front wheels do not move, but his dome is pretty small. So, there's his whistle, but never mind. But we'll take a look at something much better. Well, we'll get back to City of Truro. Well, let's take a look at City of Truro on how I made him. Further ado, we'll be taking a look at City of Truro. Right here is City of Truro. Of course, this engine is some very heavy modifications made to the model. I did keep the tender as, well, I actually added a little bit to it. We'll take a look at Truro at the front here first. His face was molded from a duck face that I actually molded from my actual duck model to whatever this clay I actually use for mold making. But this is actually how it came out. Not the best, but the best I can do. Here's a very close look at his face. See right here. See his eyes, circular eyes. It would be better in person anyways, but that doesn't matter. Of course, the rods are 3D printed. I actually covered the wheels. As you can see here, he no longer has any moving side rods. He did before, but I've removed those and now use them as spares. The cab was covered with cardstock on both sides. The same goes with the tender. Of course, I actually carved it out of the Edward tender and add that little extra part of the tender that he's supposed to have. The coal is not correct, but this is the best I can do on him. The boiler on City of Truro was actually fabricated out of this putty I actually have. Made the firebox out of that putty. The whistle I actually painted. Take a very close look at the whistle. I'll have to zoom in here. Very close look at the whistle, right here. Painted the whistle, and there's his number, 3440. I actually painted the cab. Whatever these parts of the model is called, I actually used cardboard and Trackmaster 2 couplings. And of course, there are some parts of the model I actually painted on. I also painted the stripes, too, on the model. The funnel, the top of the funnel, I actually painted gold, as you can see right here. Not the best, but Here's a closer look at the face on Truro. You can see I painted the smile, I painted the eyes and the eyebrows, try to be like Truro. The rods are of course 3D printed. And he is a pretty good runner, to be honest. The wheels I painted black, and I did some red on the outline here, pretty much. So he no longer has any rods. He just runs without moving side rods, pretty much. Kind of like how Class 3700 did Truro. I actually used spare Trackmaster 2 couplings to cover the front wheels. Probably be more accurate. Well, this is the closest I can get to the looks of Truro. I also did the same paint job on the wheels. See the red in the middle and the black on the outside of the wheels. I also painted the rear buffer beam red here. And I didn't do the rear details. I'll probably do those at some point. And the interior of the cab was inspired by someone I actually know of, who actually did this on his engines, and because of that, I decided to do those too. The part of the safety valve, he doesn't have the dome. Right here is the safety valve, formerly the dome. Parts of the dome, I actually used the same fix-it stick as well. The putty is actually the fix-it stick. I used fix-it stick for the firebox. I used fix-it stick for the dome. And of course, I used the fix-it stick to actually shape parts of Truro, of course. And I didn't paint everything, but I painted most of it. The green I use is the same green I used on a couple of my LNER A4 customs. If you haven't seen episode 2 of my LNER A4 customs, you can check that out, where you can actually see me showcasing my LNER A4s. Of course, I did the preserved ones, and of course, I did some detailing on Spencer. Truro is basically based off of a GWR 3700 class, known as the City class. He also appeared in the Railway series books, and I do actually portray him with a face, as always, pretty much. I like seeing Truro with a face, so be on the lookout for him throughout my Thomas series in the future. So, remember guys, leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you subscribing. That really helps and supports the channel. And I hope you guys get to see more content. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, like I said. And we'll be wrapping up the video. And we'll be ending the video here. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe. See you all next time. And of course, goodbye.